Hey, kia ora. Good morning. I hope you're all off to a super fantastic, sparkling start to Winning Wednesday. Yes, one of my favorite days of the week. I only have 7 favorite days. How is your morning started? What are you celebrating this week? What wins are you celebrating this week? For me, it is the fact that I have this great new software that I am exploring. I am loving learning it, and it is going to help my businesses. Yes, I said businesses as in plural because I have several businesses, but it is something that is going to help make everything a lot easier. It is going to integrate with a system I already use, which is awesome and amazing. And busy getting everything, still learning the system, getting everything set up. And I have calls booked with the company to learn more about the system and have it personalized for me. So I am super excited about that this week. That's one of my big wins for the week. Another big win is my headache is gone. The feeling of the cold coming on is gone. I woke up this morning feeling absolutely amazing, back on top of things, full shining sparkle. The help of all I did yesterday was taking my 3,000 milligrams of vitamin C. I only got it in twice yesterday when I suddenly realized what was going on. Sometimes it takes a while. Put the Melaleuca on the cotton balls in my ears last night before I went to bed. Got a really good night's sleep. I think it's because it was a lot quieter with the cotton ball, and because I couldn't hear this AC that's right here. It's a very loud AC. So I was kind of grateful that I didn't get to hear that a lot last night, and that helped me get a good night's sleep. If there was a way I could turn that AC off at night without overheating, I would gladly do it. But unfortunately, I can't because it feeds into the bedroom and gives us a nice cold air in the bedroom. There are some nights when the outside temperature gets down low enough and we've got it cool enough inside that I can turn that off, and we only have the front one going, and that's enough to keep us cool throughout the night. But at the moment, with the overnight lows in the 80s, it's a little harder to do that, especially when it's in the high 80s. If it's in the low 80s, I can do it. It's not a problem. But yeah, it was nice to get a great night's sleep and wake up with no headache. And I just realized I've spelled purchased wrong. Sorry. So that was another one last night, was getting a good night's sleep, waking up, no headaches after having a headache for mainly most of the part of yesterday, coming and going. And even though I was doing the pinching and the massaging of this area between the fleshy part between the thumb and the forefinger for that trigger point for headaches, that would help ease it up, but very soon it would be back again. So it was just one of those niggling ones. And when I figured out what was going on, it was into cold remedy prevention immediately on the defense. But today I will still keep doing up with my vitamin C just to make sure I have absolutely got rid of that thing. So yeah, back to full strength this morning. Woohoo! Look out, world. And it's only 8:20 in the morning. I mean, our morning training was like 10 minutes long this morning, so now I'm on here getting this done. I am on a roll this morning. Yes, it is amazing. We've had a good walk this morning. So I felt like I was running late at one point, and now I'm ahead of myself. So I am super excited about that because it means it is going to be a rocking day. So are you going to have a rocking day too? So what are your wins that you are celebrating this week? Let us know in the comments below. Also, your Tell Your Story question of the day. What was the first car you purchased? Not the first car you had access to, but the first car that you purchased yourself. You earned the money for it, and you went out and you purchased it yourself with no assistance from parents. Well, maybe if you took a loan from the parents, but no, there was no gifts involved. You were not given a car. What is the first car you actually earned? And what did you call it? Mine was a Ford Cortina, which is a sedan. It is a Ford brand. I'm trying to think what it's close to in size. Ford Focus keeps coming to mind. It's a little bigger than a Ford Focus. It's a sedan, a little bigger than Ford Focus. It was bright yellow. It was canary yellow, and it was called Big Bird because that's when I started naming my cars after Muppets. The very first car I owned was Big Bird. It was big. It was a bright yellow car, and I had it for just over a year, I think it was. I think it was just over a year that I had it for when it got written off by a dental nurse who was at the school across the road. And in schools, in primary schools, they had a little building that was set off to the side, and that was where the dentist was, and it was always a woman. She was called a dental nurse. And very rarely did we have any men in those ones. They were mainly women all the time. But this is where you would take your kids for their first experience with a dentist. You would call up and book appointments when it was time to start taking your toddler to the dentist to get their teeth checked out and cleaned and all of that sort of stuff, and to see how their teeth were growing and everything else. And that would be the first place you would take them to. And then when you were in school, they would actually pull you out of class to go get your teeth cleaned, and they had their little roster and everything else. So twice a year you got called over to the dental office to get your teeth cleaned and checked out and all that sort of stuff, and any further appointments booked and everything else. And it was all funded by the government, so it didn't cost you anything, didn't cost your parents anything for that service. Yeah, and so she was leaving the school. So anyway, she was leaving the school, and a bee got up around her neck, and she happened to put her foot down and ended up driving across the road into the back end of my car and catching it on the corner. And she hit it with such force that it was moved from in front of my parents' place down across the driveway of the house next door. And they say that when the police and all that came, they said that she was extremely lucky because my mother had actually used my car that day. And that the nurse was very lucky that my mother had parked it half on the grass and half on the road, because our street is a very narrow street. So if you get cars parked on both sides of the road, it turns into a single lane street. And so Mama parked it half on the grass and half on the road. And if she had not done that, the dental nurse would have been killed in that impact. That's how bad it was. And my car got written off. And I was like, darn. But then my next car that I got was a white Holden Barina, which is like a Suzuki, same as a Suzuki Swift. Just a little 4-door hatchback, 1.3 liter engine. But that thing could go. That had some zoom to it. And that one was the Swedish Chef from the Muppets. But anyway, so let us know, what was the first car you purchased and what did you name it? And this is purchased, not given to you. You actually had to earn the money to buy it. So what was the first car that you earned the money for and you purchased yourself? Maybe you had help from parents picking up the car and all that. How I got my car was Mum and Dad bought a second car that they needed for a bit, because of, I think it was something some work my dad was doing. He just needed it to run around for work, I think it was. I can't quite remember why they needed a second car at the time, but at the time they needed a second car. It was just for a short time. And then when they were getting it ready to sell, I said to them, I said, well, I would like to buy that. And that's how I got my first car. I bought it off. I actually paid my parents the money for it. Went and got went on by myself, got a loan to purchase it, and paid my parents for that car. So that was my first car purchase. I didn't have to deal with a dealer. The next time I bought a car, I did have to deal with a dealer, and I had somebody to help me with that too. So, but that was my first car purchase. It was a bright yellow Ford Cortina, and I mean, it was yellow. It was screaming yellow. But I loved that yellow car. It was awesome. Now, quickly before I go, the last thing is, do you have a family tree research question? If that, something, piece of terminology that you hear around family trees, you want to know what it means. Have you got a roadblock that you need some help through? Send it to me in a private message or type it in the comments below, because we are going to start doing 2 to 3 times a week. We're going to be actually answering these family tree research questions. Things that you'll come across, things like terminology. Where do you start? What's the best software program out there to put your tree on? What about doing DNA testing? All of that sort of stuff. So we're going to start answering some of those questions about that. But you'll need to send us your questions so we can answer them for you. So either private message me your questions or type them in the comments below. And I'm going to still figuring out which actual days I'm going to do it on. But last night I was not at my top form. I was not in the place headwise, because it was pounding, to answer the question that came in yesterday. So we will answer that question this evening. So tune in this evening to see what question was asked, and we will answer that question tonight on our part 2 of day 777. Ooh, 777s, Great Plains. I love the 777s. But wow, 777s. That's got to be lucky somehow. It has to be. There's 3 sevens. Yeah, that's got to be a good number. Anyway, I lost the phone. Oh yeah. So if you have a question, if you have a research question, private message to me, leave it in the comments below. And on one of our evenings when we're going to be answering some research questions, Your question could be our question for that evening. And apart from that, go out, have a super fantastic sparkling day. Don't forget to celebrate your wins, because when you celebrate your wins, it is completed. You keep that feeling and you remember them. That's the cool part. I learned that the other day, that when you celebrate your wins, you actually remember those wins. When you don't celebrate the wins, you don't remember them. So there's something in that. So go out, celebrate your wins today, celebrate your wins for this week, and we will catch you guys later around 6 p.m. this evening. So have a super fantastic sparkling day. Hei konera.